Hey there, thanks for checking out my channel, or welcome back if you are a returning viewer. With Oscar night just on the horizon this Sunday, fast approaching. Today we are talking about 2025 Oscar race predictions. Some eagle-eyed viewers out there might already be counting behind me what I have on my board back here, only seeing 19 of the 23 categories. And yes, that is correct. I am leaving off a few here today, namely the shorts and best documentary feature. To be honest, if I end up checking out any of these, it's only after I've learned the nominees. I don't take the Oscar race super seriously. It's more of a fun thing. I like to predict just to see, how many I can potentially get right out of the 23. So let's get things kicked off. We are starting with the costume design category. Competing for this award, we have A Complete Unknown, Conclave, Gladiator 2, Nosferatu, and Wicked. This one I think is gonna be pretty straightforward, although maybe I'm crazy picking this, but I am going with Wicked for costume design. I don't think there's a ton of awards they're gonna be taking home tonight, Oscar night, but I believe this will be one. Our next category up, we have makeup and hairstyling. Competing for this award, we have A Different Man, Amelia Perez, Nosferatu, The Substance, and Wicked. I was a little torn on this and went back and forth a few times, namely between Wicked and The Substance, but ultimately I am going with The Substance for this one. I've seen, they've taken home this prize and a couple other major awards that occur during award season. And I feel like costume, hair, and makeup, those sometimes end up going hand in hand there, as well as some of the, other production, like production design awards. But I just feel like with all the prosthetic use in The Substance that this is likely a contender. They're a major contender here. So ultimately, I'm going with The Substance. And speaking of those production awards, next up we have production design. Competing in this category, we have The Brutalist, Conclave, Dune Part 2, Nosferatu, and Wicked. I think missing from this category is The Substance. I would have loved to see this here, but honestly, I think this is one of the strongest categories out of all of them that has the biggest contenders. But ultimately, for this one, I am going with Wicked again. I just think all those large scale sets they did, if you aren't aware, they're most of those sets were actually built out. It's not all CGI. So I just think for the scale of some of those sets, that Wicked is gonna take this one home. For our next category, we have visual effects. Competing for this award, we have Alien Romulus, Better Man, Dune Part 2, Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, and Wicked. And for this award, I am going with Dune Part 2, namely because Dune took home this award for Part 1 back in 2022 when it was competing in that Oscar season. So I have a feeling, especially since it was left out in some of the other major categories like directing, that it's likely to be recognized here. Although I wouldn't be surprised if Wicked potentially takes this one too, but I'm sticking with Dune Part 2 for now. Our next category, we have sound. Competing here, we have A Complete Unknown, Dune Part 2, Amelia Perez, Wicked, and The Wild Robot. First off, let me just say that I was a bit furious to not see The Substance here and to see Amelia Perez there. Don't even get me started on their nominations and everything surrounding that film. No, I have not seen it. I've seen enough clips though to know that I never want to watch it, and having heard anything about it, I'm just not interested. So with that said, given our nominees for this one, I am also going with Dune Part 2. Again, Dune took this home back in 2022. And again, with the lack of recognition in some of the other categories, despite having a Best Picture nomination, I think it's likely that they'll walk away with this one as well. Next up, we have music for original score. Our nominees are The Brutalist, Conclave, Amelia Perez, Wicked, and The Wild Robot. I I truly can't believe the challengers did not get in here. Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross, who have been nominated before for the likes of like The Social Network. By far one of my favorite scores of the year. I have it on, my playlist. I actually listen to this score, unlike literally all of these nominees here. I mean, heck, even this, again, I'm a little biased because The Substance was my favorite film of the entire year in 2024, but I would have even loved to see The Substance here again. But ultimately, given our nominees here, I feel like this one is a bit of a wild card. I'm going with Wicked. I just feel like since it's a musical, I know Amelia Perez is also a musical, but uh, again, given all the discourse going on with that film, I'm not expecting it to potentially walk away with nothing, although there's one award I do think it will ultimately take home. But going with Wicked here, since it's a musical and there's no original songs, it's not nominated in that category, which we're going to go into next here. So I think it'll take original score for that. Up for original song, we have El Mal, Amelia Perez, The Journey from the 688, Like a Bird from the film Sing Sing, Mi Camino, Amelia Perez, and finally Never Too Late from Elton John, Never Too Late. This one's a little tricky, although I've heard a lot of people disappointed that Sing Sing hasn't shown up, that, didn't really show up here. That people were disappointed that A24 didn't put more behind an Oscar campaign for that film, a la the Iron Claw last year, where that kind of got completely left off the table just because A24 didn't do much promotion around it. They obviously put most of their eggs in the basket, if not all of their eggs, into The Brutalist this year, and that's where their campaign efforts were. So I think, given this is the only thing Sing Sing has a nomination for, and there's not really any strong contenders here this year, I think Like a Bird from Sing Sing is going to be our original song winner. Next up, we have film editing. Competing here, we have Honora, The Brutalist, Conclave, Amelia Perez, and Wicked. Looking back at the history of the winners for this award, it can kind of be a toss-up, but more often than not, the Best Picture winner tends to be the winner here if it is nominated. It's not always nominated in this category, but given that history and potentially hinting at what I'm leaning towards for Best Picture, I'm going with Honora for film editing. Keeping with our technical categories here, some of our technical ones, we're gonna flow into cinematography next. Competing in this category, we have The Brutalist, Dune Part 2, Amelia Perez, Maria, and Nosferatu. Seeing how The Brutalist, I honestly don't think is going to show up much across the board in terms of winning, I'm gonna go with it for cinematography. I think this is a category that makes sense to recognize it, especially for its subject material too around architecture. So I'm gonna go with The Brutalist here. I think this is a category that makes sense that the Academy might show the recognition for it. Up next, we're moving into the screenwriting categories. Up first, we have Best Adapted Screenplay. Competing here are A Complete Unknown, Conclave, Amelia Perez, Nickel Boys, and Sing Sing. Oh, I'm sorry, Sing Sing does show up here as well, which it could potentially take the award here, though, again, given its lack of campaigning and recognition, I'm not particularly betting on that, and I am going with Conclave here. I think this is the category that makes most sense for Conclave to get recognized in, and potentially the only category, frankly, that I think it might end up walking away with an award on Oscar night. Now, moving into Screenplay Best Original, we have our nominees: Honora, The Brutalist, A Real Pain, September 5, and The Substance. So Honora did walk away with the Best Screenwriters, the Writers Guild award here. Sean Baker did win that award from that guild. However, I do believe this will be where The Substance really gets recognized. And I'm really hoping this does happen because I want Coralie Farge, the writer, director, and a co-editor on The Substance, to walk away with something on Oscar night. I really hope The Substance doesn't, at least in, these bigger categories, recognizing the film as a whole here, it doesn't walk away with nothing, especially since this film is really her vision, her baby. So I'm really hoping I'm right about this one, and Coralie gets that screenwriting award. Finishing out this column here, we have Best Animated Feature Film. Competing are Flow, Inside Out 2, Memoir of a Snail, Wallace and Gromit, Vengeance Most Foul, and The Wild Robot. I've only seen, out of all of these, I've sadly only seen Inside Out 2. I know, terrible. I really need to see The Wild Robot and Flow now that I saw that Max has that available for streaming. But just given all the, again, what I'm seeing in the trades being predicted, and just generally which of these I've heard about the most myself, I am going with Flow for Best Animated Feature Film here. Again, I've heard the most. I feel like I've heard the most chatter about this one. Of course, it wouldn't be crazy to see Disney, Pixar win, because they used to be practically undefeated in this category, though that hasn't been the case of late. And I also wouldn't be shocked if The Wild Robot does end up taking this away. But for my final prediction, I am going with Flow. Moving on to our last column on the board, we're starting with Best International Feature Film. Competing in this category, we have I'm Still Here, The Girl with the Needle, Amelia Perez, The Seed of the Sacred Fig, and Flow. Now, obviously, I feel like there's two frontrunners here since they're nominated in other categories, that being Flow for Best Animated Feature Film, and then I'm Still Here, which is competing in the Best Picture race. Given all that, and again, just different discussion I've heard, I am gonna go with I'm Still Here. I really don't think this has a chance of winning Best Picture, so I think it's gonna make the most sense for the Academy to recognize it in this category. All right, and we are rounding the corner now to some of our major categories, those being the acting awards. Starting us off, we have Best Supporting Actor. Competing in this, we have Yura Borisov from Honora, Kieran Culkin for A Real Pain, Edward Norton for Complete Unknown, Guy Pearce for The Brutalist, and Jeremy Strong for The Apprentice. This one, out of nearly all the categories, is pretty much a lock. It's not going to be shocking for anyone following the award season so far. It's going to be Kieran Culkin for A Real Pain. He's basically swept every award out there and won this. So if there's any for sure, like shoe-ins here, this is for sure the race that is pretty much a lock. Next up, we move to the actresses in a supporting role. Competing this year, we have Monica Barbaro, A Complete Unknown, Ariana Grande for Wicked, Felicity Jones for The Brutalist, Isabella Rossellini for Conclave, and Zoe Salanda for Amelia Perez. This one, again, I feel like is a lock, just looking at who's been sweeping this category across the board. And I'm going to go with Zoe Salanda for that fact. However, again, everything that's kind of come out about Amelia Perez since its nomination may have impacted people voting for it. So I don't know. I feel like supporting actress could potentially be a real toss up here. There's potential for Ariana Grande to end up taking this. I mean, I personally, no shame on me. I still haven't seen Wicked. Wicked is on my watch list. I've just never been like in that world. I don't know. I've never seen the Broadway musical or read the book or anything, but definitely on my watch list. Don't worry, I will be getting to it. But so I could see Ariana taking this, or there's been a lot of talk of Isabella Rossellini walking away with this as more of like a lifetime achievement award because frankly she's not. I did watch Conclave. She's not in Conclave much. She has one pretty pivotal scene, but not a lot of screen time at all. So this really would be more like a lifetime achievement recognition here. So I mean that's possible, especially if voters really the tide really turned on Amelia Perez there. So we'll see. All right, we are now into the leading role races. First, we are starting with Best Actor. Competing here, we have Adrian Brody for The Brutalist, Timothy Chalamet for A Complete Unknown, Coleman Domingo for Sing Sing, Ralph Fiennes for Conclave, and Sebastian Stan for The Apprentice. My goodness, I did not pay attention to Sing Sing. I am sorry, Sing Sing. I almost forgot that Coleman Domingo is nominated here. Likely slipped my mind just because it's not likely that Coleman is going to get the recognition here. I feel like at this point it's pretty clear that this race is down to Timothy Chalamet and Adrian Brody. Timothy kind of entering the race, re-entering the conversation there after winning at the SAG Awards most recently, where Adrian Brody had otherwise been pretty much running away with this, despite those AI stories that came out about them using AI to enhance, improve his accent in the film. I don't know if that ultimately will deter anyone. So I'm sticking with Adrian Brody, having been the front runner for almost this entire Oscar season. I still think he's going to end up walking away with the big prize on Oscar night. Next up, we're moving to our leading ladies. Let's look at the nominees for Best Actress in a Leading Role. Cynthia Erivo for Wicked, Carla Sofia Gasson for Amelia Perez, Mickey Madison for Honora, Demi Moore for The Substance, and Fernanda Torres for I'm Still Here. This one again had seemed like a lock with Demi Moore taking home the Golden Globe. However, Mickey Madison has had a bit of a resurgence similar to Timothy Chalamet, having won at the Independent Spirit Awards recently and taking home Best Leading Actress at the BAFTAs. So I think this race got reopened a little bit. However, this might not be any surprise given my professed love already for this film. But I'm going with Demi Moore. I'm going to stick with Demi Moore. I think she still will walk away with the Best Actress here, despite some of those late season awards that Mickey Madison has recently been walking away with. But would not be totally shocked if I am wrong here and Mickey ultimately takes home the golden statue. All right, and we are down to just one category before we get into the Best Picture race, and that is for Best Director. Our nominees here are Sean Baker for Nora, Brady Corbett for The Brutalist, James Mangold for A Complete Unknown, Jacques Audiard for Amelia Perez, and Coralie Farge for The Substance. Again, I would love to see Coralie take this home, but I don't think that is likely. And given some of the awards that Sean Baker has been taking home, specifically the Directors Guild Best Director, taking Best top dog at that Guild's awards ceremony, I do believe that Best Director is going to go to Sean Baker come Oscar night. And with that said, we are on to our Best Picture race. So excited to reveal to you my sugar cookie design for our Best Picture winner here. So let's get down to it. Who are our nominees for Best Picture? We have 10 this year, the maximum that you can have in the Best Picture race. Competing are Honora, The Brutalist, A Complete Unknown, Conclave, Dune Part 2, Amelia Perez, I'm Still Here, Nickel Boys, The Substance, and Wicked. After this past weekend with the SAG Awards, and then even recently before that, the BAFTA Awards, two frontrunners have emerged, that being Conclave and Honora. Seems to be everyone's on the same page that it's going to be one of these two at this point. Conclave took for at the BAFTAs, they did take the top award for Best Picture, and then at SAG they won for Best Cast in a Motion Picture, which is the top award you can get recognized for there at the SAGs, as a film as a whole. However, again, as I just alluded to with Sean Baker, him and his film have been sweeping up all kinds of awards, including producer, as well as the Director Guild Award and even the Writers Guild, taking home for Best Screenplay. They're just racking it up in all like the key areas that make up a film here. So I do believe our Best Picture come Oscar night is going to be Honora. Our Best Picture will be Honora. They're ultimately going to take this prize home. I really early on thought Substance really had a chance, and I know there's been a lot of Brutalist talk too. That is another film that unfortunately I haven't gotten to see yet. I mean, because that runtime, that's long. I mean, it literally has an intermission in it. So I am sorry that I haven't seen that one yet. Definitely want to, was hoping to get to more of it. And to be honest, I feel terrible this year. I have barely kind of seen any of the Best Picture films. I did see Honora. I did quite enjoy it. Not as much as The Substance though. But I did enjoy it. Ended up being a totally different tone than I originally thought. But there you have it. Those are my 2025 Oscar race predictions. I will be coming back to chat about the Oscar ceremony and seeing how many of these key categories I got right. I will be making predictions for the shorts and the documentary categories as well. So I'll let you know how I do with all 23 categories, and let me know what you're predicting, especially for the Best Picture race. Who do you think is going to take home the top prize come this Sunday, March 2nd, with host Conan O'Brien? It's the 97th Academy Awards, airing at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, 4 p.m. Pacific, and you can check it out on ABC or live streaming on Hulu. We'll talk soon, and we'll see you after Oscar night. Take care.